So today we're going to all review a pop EDM track. So I'm joined by three other pro members of Pro Feedback, and we're all going to try to give this member, Dom Purdy, some helpful notes, hopefully, to get him and get this track maybe to get a little closer to something that could be licensable, accepted by a library, etc., etc. So that's what we do in Pro Feedback. So let's go ahead and get started and listen to this track that Dom supplied for us. Here we go. Awesome. Dom, I really just love this track, man. Just the chord progressions you've created here are just really beautiful, very melodic. I don't know, I just feel good. It's like wrapping myself with a warm blanket. I don't know, you just got this really cool warm glow going on with this track. So I think it's really got a great emotional vibe, emotional focus to it. I do feel it's far too short. I feel like it's really underdeveloped. This to me feels like this is kind of in the beginning stages of, like, if I were composing this track, this would have been my sort of like initial skeleton of putting it together, and then after this phase, I would have started to flesh it out a little bit and maybe add a little bit more to a final chorus and maybe structure some things a little bit different. So I think we're going to definitely talk about your structure in this track, but I think overall your skills, the sounds, the plugins, the mix, the master, things are really, really working here, man. You have a lot working in your favor. So I would say most of this is in your favor, and we're just going to be talking about fine-tuning some things and hopefully getting you a little bit closer to licensability. So Yele, I'd like to get your thoughts on this one, man. What did you think about this?
Yeah, well, I agree with you with the structure. It's too short. I really enjoyed the track as well. I think it's really, if you make it longer, it is really licensable. Um, Most of the guidelines I get from my libraries when I work for a library, always in the agreement, they mention a time of the tracks, the duration of the tracks. So they always say around 2 to 2.5 minutes is an average for most libraries. And then if they want a minute version or a 30-second version, they most of the time request it separately, or it's also mentioned in the agreement. So always when you create music or create music for a library, take as an average 2 to 2.5 minutes for a track. So structure-wise, you have your intro, you have your midsection. I think I'm missing a little bit of a climax at the end. It could be a bit more. The ending as well. With the ending, you now end with a simple drum that fades out, but I think you can make it more impactful when you use one of those tom loops that you're using, like if you use that at the end, it would give the ending so much more impact. So that's one thing on the ending. If there's another thing that I need to comment on, I think in your intro, in the very first part of the song, there is this synth pad that you're having, and I hear, it could be Zoom, it could be my headphones, but I'm hearing or not a conflicting frequency. It's a frequency that's being standing out a little bit too much. So treating that with an equalizer would already do the trick. So use some corrective EQ on that synth pad. And at the end, the snare drum, I would say, can use a little bit more thickness. It can be a bit thicker, a bit more in your face, I think. But overall, a really, really nice sounding track. Absolutely licensable if you make it a bit longer. And a job well done, mate. Absolutely.
Very cool. Hans, what do you think about this one, man?
I really liked it. I mean, this is not my favorite music style to begin with, but what you've created there really captured me. I like the warmth, what Jesse mentioned. It's really like this warm blanket. It's a great sound, beautiful. I too feel it's way too short, and I feel that the second part, when you come in with a melody, it feels a little disjointed. There's two parts in the kind of that second part, and they seem like you just plugged it together. One part and then the next part, but they are not quite. They don't feel like yet they are really belonging together, or they are not tied together well enough. But I think overall, that is a real great start. And you are on a good way. This is very, very licensable. Sounds good. I also would, what Yella mentioned at the end. The end falls flat for me. I mean, the end is probably the weakest point at this point. But I think I see it more as a kind of as a template right now. You just set up different parts, and now you gotta stretch it a little out and find an exciting ending and connect the parts a little better with each other. But great job. Really like it.
Awesome. Philip, how about you, man?
Yeah, I agreed on all points. One little technical note that I would have before anything is to cut the dead air right at the very top of the track. I noticed when Jesse hit play, there was a few seconds of just nothing. And, I would think that libraries and editors, when they hit that button, they don't really have the time to sit there and be like, is it going to play? That's just an easy fix on your bounce. I felt like the pad at the very beginning in the intro seemed either to be a little bit overdriven or in a little bit too low of a register. It just kind of seemed like it was getting a little muddy in there. I think the notes are cool. It may be worth seeing if you could roll off some of the low end up front. But when the piano came in, I thought the piano sounded great, and it sounded big and wide, and it was just like, oh, cool. This is like, there's a boldness to it now. I thought the transition from part A to part B was really cool. Then in the B section, the arpeggiated thing was just too loud. I think it's probably a good vibe, but it's one of those supporting things that should just be in the middle of all these pads and everything, where you can kind of hear it, and it's contributing to part of the whole, and not just, you don't want anybody being like, hey, cool arpeggiated part right there. It's everything should be working towards one big cohesive sound. And then my notes on the ending have already been covered by everybody, but yeah, really good track, good start, and I'd be interested to hear where you go with this.
Totally, man. And I agree with you. Like, I like that you said that word bold. Yeah, when that piano came in, I couldn't think of the word, but you're absolutely right. It was just this massive, just fearless piano part that came in. So I actually, you're going to hate me now, Dom, because your track is too short, but your intro is too long, believe it or not. In a short track, you actually have an intro, I feel, that's not necessary. You have a really, really long track that's basically half of the song. It's like a whole buildup. I actually think you should start your track. Let me see if I can give you the exact moment. I would actually start it right there, 27. Start with this piano. That immediately puts this warm blanket around the listener. It's got the bold piano, and I think that 27 seconds up until the final hit of your buildup is plenty long for a buildup. So that means you got some work to do. So if that's your intro, I would scrap essentially everything before that. Maybe you could rework that. Let me say not scrap it, but maybe rework this first, I don't know, is it 4 bars? Maybe into a bridge. Maybe that could be a new bridge, B section, kind of calm down section. So I would suggest you start off with this beautiful piano, go into this chorus, maybe come down for a nice relaxed B section, and then we need to build ourselves back up. It's a roller coaster, right? Build ourselves back up, but change things out a little bit. Don't just copy and paste these sections back to back. and then come up for a final chorus that's even bigger than the first one. And that should get you to around 2 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer. But you definitely got some work to do on this one, a little bit more composing and structuring. But what you have in your favor is that this sounds very modern. It sounds very relevant to today's industry and to what's like trending and what's going viral and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I was hearing this, I'm like, Justin Bieber could easily just jump on this track and this is a hip hop track, right? So hopefully you don't take that as a diss. I think it's a big compliment. But it's just got that sound, you know, like he's just got this very relevant current pop sound. So I think you've got that at your fingertips, which is not easy. A lot of people do try to jump into this genre, myself included sometimes, and I can't pull it off always. It's because it's a really tricky thing to get exactly what the new current sound is. So the fact that you have that skill, that's your strength. Keep leaning into it, and now just make sure that if you go in this direction, again, use those reference tracks, use a track that's already been accepted by a library, and find out how long their tracks are, how are they structuring it, how long are their build-ups, how long are their intros, and just make sure you do follow in the footsteps of those that have come before you, because why not? You know, you don't have to sort of reinvent the wheel in this business. There are people that have done all that hard work for you. You can literally just follow in their footsteps and then pave your own path as you move forward. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you want to get your track reviewed in Pro Feedback, you do need to join us, okay? The only way, some people have asked, how do you get your track reviewed? How do you get your track reviewed here on these YouTube videos? These are all coming from our Pro Feedback members. We have these monthly bonus reviews where they send a track and we do these sort of like mega sync panels and get together and review their tracks. But not only do you get these kind of reviews, you can get a monthly review from the pro of your choice, including one of these three gentlemen on screen here. You can get one from me through our monthly live reviews. We actually got one coming up here this weekend, coming up on this Saturday. So you can definitely join if you'd like to. And join us for that. And there's a lot of awesome content that you get to watch on our platform, including many more reviews just like this from me, from all of these guys, and our other pros that, you know, didn't join us on this particular video. But you can watch hundreds and hundreds of tracks being reviewed every single week, and that's going to just prepare you even more and get you even more educated on how to make sure that you're creating licensable music that gets those placements, gets on TV shows, and then gets you, of course, those royalties, which is what we're all after. So hope you guys are learning and enjoying, and if you want to join us in Pro Feedback, that link is right below in the description box.